This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Kevin Tucker and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic!
What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is May 29th, 2025. Jonathan Osborne here, as always, joined by my co-host, Kevin Tucker. Kevin, what's going on?
Jonathan, good to be back. Another episode. This one, the one that everyone has been waiting for, as we've gone through the grades of the forwards and then the bigs, and now we have arrived to the guards. So buckle up, grab your popcorn. It's going to be a fun one. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, man. Last episode talking about the bigs. Our conversation towards the end of that episode where we kind of floated. Well, I kind of floated like, hey, the idea that maybe, Vooch could be a potential target for the Magic this offseason to bring him back. And honestly, there was more mixed reactions to that than I anticipated. I thought it would be overwhelmingly negative. It's kind of been half and half. It's definitely more positive in the YouTube comments and more negative on Twitter. But I definitely stand by the point that had Vooch not have played for the Magic in the past, and people have so many negative memories and emotions wrapped up in Vooch, I think people would be more open to it. And one thing that I keep seeing is people talk about how bad he is, defensively and all that kind of stuff. And don't, mistake me. He would definitely be like behind Wendell and Goga defensively if he was on this roster now. But let's not forget that like 2018, 2019, and 2019, 2020, the Magic were 8th and 11th in the league in defense. And that was with a starting backcourt of DJ Augustine and Evan Fournier, who essentially were like rim turnstiles. Like Vooch never had a chance, like trying to step up and stop those guards when they had literally direct like line runs or drives to the rim. So him being able to play behind, like a Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, I do think he would at least be passable. And we've talked about how the Magic are going to have to sacrifice some defense if they want to get better offensively. I think you can still be a top 6-7 team in the league in defensive rating with Nikola Vucevic being your starting center. Not that I think any of that's going to happen, but that got a bit more interesting today when Sam Amico of HoopsWire reported that the Bulls may be open to trading Nikola Vucevic this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, yes, right? Like the idea of it is interesting. And honestly, the parts that are great are like, I can picture in my head Paolo Banchero driving. He gets double teamed or triple teamed, kicks it out, top of the key, Vucevic wide open, drains the triple, Kia center goes crazy, right? Like I can picture all that. But it almost, as realistic as that sounds, and like as maybe a good a fit as it sounds, it almost just feels like a fever dream type thing. Like there's just no way that
be true.
Yeah, like there's just no way, right? Like I don't know. That would be very interesting, especially because it obviously has to happen via trade this summer, right? And so, how do the Bulls value him? Like, how do the Magic value him? Like I don't know. The trade will be weird. We mentioned it last time, like the idea of adding Kobe White to it. I don't see it happening. Like I would be very surprised if that were to happen, but I don't know. I think the biggest thing for me, Jonathan, my brain just can't get there. Like I just can't accept that as a possibility. And I think it's certainly a long shot, but he does offer a lot of things that this Magic team needs. So it is at least interesting to think about.
And I just have a hard time believing that the Bulls, 4 years after the fact, would turn around and trade Vooch back to the team that obviously they've been. I don't know how much of it is really deserved because no one really knew that Franz was going to be what he's become, but it's so easy to point at their front office and be like, man, you guys got fleeced. And I don't know that they'd be really pumped up about shipping like a multi-time all-star back to the team that fleeced them. And so that would be kind of interesting. And then Sam Amico today kind of aggregating some stuff here from Chris Fedor of Cleveland.com, kind of floating the idea of a Cavaliers trade that would involve Darius Garland to the Magic for Jalen Suggs and Tristan da Silva. I mean, it would definitely help the offense. To me, I just have a personal attachment to Jalen Suggs. I'm not going to hide from that fact, but just what he means to this team, like to the culture and like the defensive identity for this team, and just like he really just seems to be the engine that, you know, allows this team to play at its highest level. I don't know that that's the move, and I don't know that that is a move that I would be willing to make. But I mean, Darius Garland, that would be really hard to turn your nose up at, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Again, we've hit this crossroads. We knew this was going to happen at some point. You have to exchange defense for offense if we're going to survive and make our way to thrive. I should back up. We have been surviving in this league. If we want to thrive in this league, we're going to have to make that swap. But that is the most extreme version of trading defense for offense in the Magic situation, at least, right? Like, he's the anchor defensively. Like you said, he's the heart defensively. It feels like a bigger piece than just what's on paper to me. So I don't know. It's another thing that's interesting. I would be very, very surprised, honestly, if that was even on the table. But I guess you never know. And hey, look, we're just a few short weeks away from the draft. And as I've said many times on this show, I just have this feeling if something's going to happen this offseason that's of sizable impact when it comes to a trade, I feel like it's going to be draft day or right up to it, you know, with the Magic's 2 picks there. So we'll see. We could find out here in just a few weeks.
And now within the past week or so, I think we've gotten Shams saying, I believe it might have been on the Pat McAfee show, like the live show that they did in Indianapolis, that he expects this to be one of the crazier off seasons in terms of trades. And I think I saw something earlier today, you know, Brian Windhorst, I don't know if it was on ESPN or on a podcast, but saying that he expects around the draft there to be a lot of activity, you know, in terms of NBA team transactions and trades. So it does seem that way, that it's shaping up to be a pretty crazy offseason, and a lot of that seems like could be around the draft. So looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we can hide from it anymore. We have tried to push this off as long as we could, but as we did with the forwards and we did with the bigs, now we are going to jump into the draft grades. So if you've not been following along the last couple of episodes, basically what we're doing is we are grading Magic players based on our preseason expectations for them and kind of how they lived up or fell short of those expectations. So if you hear us give someone a B, don't think like, oh, well, they gave this guy a B as well, and they're comparing that player to, you know, Paolo or to Franz. Like, that's very much not the case. You know, Paolo and Franz would be A's, and some of the guys that we're going to talk about would be D's or F's, you know, in that case here as we talk about the guards. So, man, I'm really trying to do my best to stall so that we don't have to do this. But we're going to do it nonetheless.
Today in Homosassa, Jonathan?
Weather, honestly, it's been getting pretty warm and balmy here, you know, in Central Florida, which is always the case this time of year. But I'm going to give Corey Joseph a B. I'm just going to come out and say it. He was the guy that we said, if this guy plays significant minutes at all this year, not for like we didn't, you know, qualify that with like, oh, a prolonged stretch or, you know, playoff minutes or whatever. We said if this dude plays at all, things have gone terribly wrong. And that's exactly what happened throughout the course of the season here. But when we look at Corey Joseph, and he ended up appearing in 50 regular season games, started 16 of them towards the end of the season, averaged 3.5 points per game, 12.2 minutes, 1.5 rebounds, almost an assist and a half. He shot 40% from the floor and 36% from behind the arc. And the stretch that the Magic went on to close out the end of the season really coincided with Corey Joseph being entered into the starting lineup. And then in 5 playoff games, Corey averaged almost 25 minutes per game, 5 points per game, 1.8 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, 3 assists to just less than a half turnover. Shot 41% from the floor and 31% from behind the arc. Definitely didn't help us there. But for what we expected out of Corey Joseph and the way that he really was able to just raise the floor of this team over the last month and a half of the regular season and really help the Magic get into that 7 seed and solidify that to be able to host the play-in game and then go on to play the Boston Celtics. I was pleasantly surprised with Corey Joseph. I wouldn't say he blew my expectations out of the water. You can't really say that for a guy that averages 3.5 points. But for what we expected out of him and what he gave us and what he was able to do for this team, I ended up with Corey Joseph getting a B.
Yeah, it's hard to argue it. Obviously, some of these guard spots, Magic fans not happy with a lot of them. I don't know how any Magic fan can be unhappy with what we got from Corey Joseph this season. Like you said, I would assume that most Magic fans had very low expectations for him, not just thinking he's not going to play, but also even when he plays, not having the highest level of expectations. And so what we got from him definitely exceeded my expectations, and so again, Magic fans can poke a lot of holes in some of these players and some of their performances this season. I'd be pretty disappointed if any Magic fan was disappointed in Corey Joseph. And so I'm with you. I'm going to give him, I might even go an A to, I don't know about A. I'm going to go B plus. I'm going to go B plus just because I expected next to nothing from Corey Joseph outside of just, calming veteran presence. But we got more than that. He was stable. He was helpful. He didn't hurt the team when he was out there. Knocked down threes from time to time. And so, yeah, I'm going to go with a B plus for old Kojo.
Now, Cole Anthony, and just to give some numbers here, played in 67 games, started 22 games, 18.4 minutes per game, 9.4 points, 3 rebounds, just under 3 assists, turnover and a half, just over a half steal, half block, shot 42% from the floor, 35% from 3. And in the playoffs, Cole Anthony averaged 10.2 minutes per game, 2.2 points, 1.4 rebound, 1.2 assist, 28.6% from the floor, and did not have a 3-point make in the playoffs. Throwing it to you, Kev. What did you grade Cole Anthony?
Okay. I evaluate Cole Anthony, obviously, first and foremost, on the season as a whole. And obviously, season as a whole did not go how any of us wanted or he wanted, I also give a little bit of value to some really special moments that happened this season, right? I think about that Miami game, right? The game where Mo goes out, you're already down Paolo and Franz. Mo goes out, you're down, I don't remember what it was, 20 something to the Heat. And Cole almost single-handedly brings you back. It's for me one of my favorite Magic games of all time, right? So I and that's more the emotional side of me. I got to give Cole credit for moments like that. He had a couple moments like that this season, right? But when it comes to my expectations for Cole this season, it was obviously higher than what we got, right? So if C is if a C means he met my expectations, it's got to be below that. Obviously, it felt like so much more of a regression than I expected. I think many people expected. And I'm stalling at this point because this is tough. I'm gonna give Cole a D plus, honestly, which is, it hurts, right? We love Cole. We love the attitude that he brings, the heart that he brings, but there were just too many games this year where he contributed to difficult stretches in games. I don't want to say he contributed to losing basketball because that's probably a bit of an overstatement, but I think of so many games this season where he just felt completely out of control. Games that he was out there for a few minutes and coach had to yank him, right? And that just can't happen. And so, yeah, it hurts. And I hope for him that he's able to bounce back and have a better season next year. I don't know if that's going to be in Orlando or elsewhere, but I went with a D plus for Cole.
Yeah, that's exactly where I ended up as well. Numbers down really all across the board, minutes down, points down, etc. played in 67 games, was relatively healthy. Most of those games that he missed were like DNP CDs, like Jamal Mosley just deciding, really not to put him out there. And during those stretches, really, he only got back into the lineup once guys started to go down. And during that time, I don't really think you could blame Jamal Mosley. And when Cole got back into the lineup and was able to contribute to some of those wins, it felt like, okay, maybe this is the spark that he needs to kind of get back on track. But in what is now, I believe, was his 5th season, you just still see, some of the decision making that is concerning. Some of the turnovers, some of the shot selection stuff. I don't like to sit and kind of harp on Cole defensively because I like the way that he competes on that end. But I think everyone understands that he's just going to be limited on that end because of like the physical attributes. So when you look at all of that, and then when you get to the playoffs where it was just so obvious that you couldn't play him, at least in that series, especially, where wasn't able to contribute offensively. If he was in the game, especially if he was matched up against Peyton Pritchard, went really badly, in his minutes, for the Magic. So, I think since the extension in the last couple of seasons, where 2 seasons ago, it was really like the first, 25 to 30 games of the year where he played really well and then cooled off. And then last season where he had a really tough stretch to start the season. And then the last 40 some odd games played really well. And like, okay, well, if we can get that Cole Anthony moving forward, and that's really the issue, is what Cole Anthony are we going to get on a nightly basis? So for me, I'm right there with you. He didn't meet my expectations. I do think that he handled the kind of ups and downs of the season and the uncertainty around like his playing time and, to some extent, like his role. Felt like he dealt with that really well and like as professionally as you could ask a guy. I know that's not an easy thing to do, but at the end of the day, just his performance on the floor fell short of what I was hoping and expecting out of Cole going into this year.
Yep.
Well, now we interrupt the episode to bring you a word from our friends over at Jam Hot Chicken. Proudly serving the city beautiful, Jam Hot Chicken is bringing jams, culture, and hot chicken to the heart of Winter Park, a Nashville and LA-inspired hot chicken shack locally owned and operated in Winter Park, Florida, located at 400 West New England Avenue, Suite 13 in Hannibal Square. Follow them at Jam Hot Chicken on all social media. Head on over to jamhotchickenfl.com. You can find their menu, order online, find all things Jam Hot. Now also available on Uber Eats. So if you're local to Winter Park, don't want to leave the comfort of your home, but you want that heat, that fire from Jam Hot Chicken delivered straight to your door, download the Uber Eats app, find them, and again, get Jam delivered straight to your house. And now they have the 6-man, their Cool Ranch chicken wrap that is back for the summer, and some rumored other limited time items that may be coming to the menu over there. So be sure to check out Jam Hot Chicken, and if you stop by, let them know that their friends over at the 6-Man Show sent you.
Very nice. Big fan of Jam Hot. Also big fan of our patrons. Every episode, we shout out 5 of our Hall of Fame and Elite tier patrons from patreon.com/The6Man Show. And today we're going to shout out Emma White, Jay, Jacob Swish, El Mexico, and Bill Fulton. Again, those are 5 of the people that financially support us here at The 6-Man Show. To find out more, you can go to patreon.com/The6Man Show, where you can check out the different tiers that we have available and find the one that's right for you. Also, we always shout out any brand new patrons. In today's episode, we get to shout out KB and David Weiss. Thanks to both of you for signing up to join again our Patreon. Those are people that have joined and said, hey, we believe in the mission of the 6-Man Show, which is to raise up the culture of the Orlando Magic fan community. And so again, if that's something you're into, something that interests you, go to patreon.com/The6Man Show and support the show today. And now let's get back to the episode.
Okay. Next up, let me go back to the old trusty PowerPoint here. Next up, we've got Anthony Black. Anthony Black, 78 games, started 10 of those, 9.4 points per game, 2.9 rebounds, 3.1 assists, just over a steal, just over a half block, 1.8 turnovers per game. In the playoffs, Anthony Black, 17.8 minutes, 8.2 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, 0.8 steals, 0.2 blocks, shot 40% from the floor, 15% from behind the arc, and should have mentioned during the regular season, 42% from the floor, 31% from behind the arc from Anthony Black. I gave Anthony Black a B-. As you and I talked about really at length, all the second half of, last season and, into last off season and, going into the beginning of this year, I was really looking at this year as like Anthony Black's rookie year, just with the lack of consistency and a real role for him last year, lack of playing time, just all that being up and down. I really didn't know what to expect from Anthony Black. I do think it was a bit of an up and down year, but especially towards the end of the season, like showed us like when he was able to focus just being more aggressive on a regular basis, I thought he was really good. Still some stuff to be desired, but I feel like we saw enough growth from him in certain areas that he did kind of exceed my expectations. And I think part of it was I feel like I didn't know what to expect from Anthony Black going into this year. So overall, I just felt positively about AB's year coming out of it.
Did you give a grade, or are you about to?
Did I not give a grade? Yeah, I gave Anthony Black a B-.
Okay, B-. Oh, I think you did say B-. Sorry, yeah, B-. Okay, yeah. I mean, for AB, we talked about last year. We said, because again, last season, because he had such a weird year where he's thrown to the starting lineup early into that season, for 30 something games, I think it was, and then doesn't play like the whole rest of the year, and so we're like, well, what are we going to get from AB this year? I think, obviously we expected a little bit of an improvement, right? But, well, first off, just like everybody else, took a dip with the 3-point shooting somehow, some way, just like everybody else, which, I know we were pretty excited. I'm trying to remember what he shot year one, 39% from three in year one, which blew all of our expectations away. Very low volume, but still 39% and drops to 31% this past season. That's a significant drop. But yeah, played 78 games, only started 10 this season. 24 minutes per game. I felt like there were a lot of games this year I felt like I could have used more Anthony Black minutes. And so I know on the average of 24 minutes, that's higher than I would have guessed. But then, yeah, as far as a grade goes, I'm going to give Anthony Black, I don't want to go the same as you, but I think I am. I think I'm going to give him a B- as well. I think there were some areas I expected a little more. I think, honestly, we talked about consistency with Cole. I think Anthony Black is very similar conversation, not just with like output statistically, but like almost energy and effort and aggressiveness. That's something we talked a lot about this year. Like when Anthony Black was aggressive more often than not, it ended up in good things for the Magic, and just some nights he just wasn't. He was very much more passive, and when Anthony Black was passive, it usually was not good. And so I still want to see more aggression from him. I don't know if that's he himself lacking confidence, or the team around him, or the coaching staff trying to hold him back. I don't know what it is, but I think year 3 AB, I definitely want to see more of that. But yeah, I'm going to go with a B-.
Yeah, he ended up shooting 47% from the right corner, just 31% from three on the season.
Wow.
But that was like very much his spot. And
yeah,
I do think that shows some promise there. Obviously, I don't think he's a 39% 3-point shooter, but I would be, I think it wouldn't be too much to expect, for him to hang around league average, maybe just below league average next year. But if he has a little bit of growth there, I think that can be really good. But yeah, he needs to grow, just like bringing the energy night in and night out. Like some people, when they compare Jalen Suggs to Anthony Black, right? Like if you look at the defensive tape, AB does a lot of really good things, but the thing that he's lacking in, compared to Jalen Suggs is like, I don't ever have to guess the type of energy and the level of effort that we're going to get out of Jalen Suggs on a nightly basis. Somewhat to his detriment, because some of that potentially leads to injury, but I think that is one of the things that we need to see AB improve on, because Jamal Mosley mentioned it maybe half a dozen times this year that AB is one of the X factors on this team. And when he's playing aggressively, not just defensively, not just offensively, but like when he just has that different level of confidence and assertiveness on both sides of the ball, he is so much better. And because of that, the Magic are so much better when he plays that way. But yeah, to your point, need to see, the shooting improve a little bit, more, shot creation, getting to the rim, finishing, all that kind of stuff. Like, you look at every spot on the floor right now, and he's below league average, other than that right corner where he's well above league average. So really needs to improve all over the place. And I think he can. We've seen a lot of him, good touch around the rim, being able to finish through contact at times. And again, I really was treating this year as his rookie year. So right. I'm expecting a lot of growth from AB going into his third year, which we're really going to consider his sophomore year.
That's right.
Okay, next up, Jalen Suggs. So Jalen Suggs, unfortunately, only appeared in 35 games, played 28.6 minutes per game, averaged 16.2 points, 4 rebounds, 3.7 assists, a steal and a half, almost a block per game, just under 3 turnovers, shot 41% from the floor, 31% from behind the arc. And yeah, missed, 47 games this year due to injury, whether it's the back or the trochlea injury, the cartilage injury to the knee. Kev, where did you end up with Jalen?
Yeah, I've been saving this grade for a long time, not specifically for Jalen, but I've had this grade in my back pocket, and I was deciding what player I was going to use it on. Okay, this is a special card, grade card that we
do not give an incomplete.
I'm giving him an incomplete. That's what I'm giving him. I'm absolutely giving him an incomplete. I can't count it. He played 6 games with Paolo and Franz. 6. I can't take all of the Jalen Suggs experience for this season.
I would argue though that he was really good in those games.
The 6?
Yeah,
he was right, but I can't give a full grade based on 6 games, and I don't think I should judge him on the other 29 games that he played or the whole 82 games because he only played in 35. Only 6 of those were with Paolo and Franz. I'm giving him an incomplete, and you can't stop me. All right.
Listen, there is not a bigger Jalen Suggs fan on the planet. When we look at 48 games, 53 games, 75 games, 35 games, that's where my mind goes to. Like if we're just talking about on the floor stuff, to me it's a little bit different. I think in the 35 games that he played, given the circumstances, he was really good. All right, so you're at the incomplete. I gave Jalen a B- because I do feel like the on the court stuff was awesome. Was as good as ever defensively. Him and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope those first few weeks of the season, when they were healthy, when Franz was still healthy, like those guys were incredible, and just feeding off of each other, watching them play was so much fun. And then Paolo goes out, Franz goes out, and Jalen is like effectively the guy. And before the injury, I believe it was in Toronto, like the back injury, was doing pretty much as you could expect a guy of what we consider his skill level and talent level at this point.
Yeah.
Being able to still keep the Magic competitive, him being the number one guy. I don't think anybody would ask to be put in that situation again of hey, let's have a stretch where Jalen Suggs is the guy again.
Right.
But I think he was good enough during that stretch to be okay, this, he can legitimately be the third guy. And yeah, he still has a lot to clean up. We talk about some of the inconsistency, with turnovers and stuff like that. We talked about that with Cole. I feel like that's a fair criticism for Jalen Suggs at this point in his 4th year. Yes, it was the first year they're trying to make him a point guard. Last couple of years, he's been more of a combo guard. And this year, again, it's hey, you're going to be the point guard. Not to the same level, but it gave me shades of Jeff Vogel talking about Aaron Gordon and Paul George
Frank
kind of
Vogel?
In the same sentence. What did I just say?
Jeff Vogel.
Who's Jeff Vogel?
Yeah, Frank
Good
Vogel.
grief.
I got you though.
Frank Vogel. Yep, Frank Vogel. Sorry, it's been that kind of day. Frank Vogel talking about Aaron Gordon in the same sentence as Paul George, where maybe we all kind of were led astray with our expectations at that point. I don't know. Can AG be Paul George? Not exactly. I mean, at least AG has a ring at this point, but maybe Jalen Suggs isn't a point guard. And I think a lot of us came to that conclusion. Maybe you could give him an incomplete, like a point guard in like the sense of like, I'm going to have the ball all the time and, you know, I'm going to kind of make everything happen, whether I score or have an assist for someone else, sure, but not as like a facilitator and organizer of the offense in that sense. So again, I thought he did a lot of things really well given the circumstances. Still has some areas and room for growth when we talk about some of the turnover stuff. And then obviously he just has to be able to stay on the floor. We knocked pretty much everyone else that had injury struggles this year. I couldn't really give him like a B plus or like get anywhere near the A's given the fact that he missed 47 games. So I ended up giving Jalen a B minus. And that hurts because again, there's not a bigger Jalen fan out there.
Yeah, that's fair. And if I were to, pony up and give him a real grade, I would have absolutely factor that in. But again, I've been saving this card. You could have used it for a bunch of other guys. And I'm choosing to use it on Jalen just because he only had 6 games with Paolo and Franz. But I mean, yeah, everything you said is totally correct. And next year's a big year for Jalen, I think. That's going to be, for me, like, obviously, outside of whatever potential acquisitions might happen, that's going to be like maybe my second biggest storyline going into next season. Like, we saw Jalen seemingly take a step in those 6 games. We need to see it for a whole season, which includes being healthy. And so I think that's really important for him, and hopefully we'll get that next year.
All right, this is where things are going to take a little bit of a negative turn, a little turn to negative town, if you will. I think everyone knows where we're going with this. Next up, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, the $22 million a year man, 77 games, started 77 games, 8.7 points per game, 29.6 minutes, 2.2 rebounds, 1.8 assists, 1.3 steals, 43.9%. No, not from behind the arc. That is from the floor. And 34.2% from behind the arc. And in 5 playoff games, 32 minutes per game, 5 points, 3 rebounds, 1.8 assists, 1.4 steals, 26% from the floor, 26% from behind the arc. I'm just going to say I gave Kentavious Caldwell-Pope a big old wow. Never mind. I gave Kentavious Caldwell-Pope a D.
So with KCP, and this might be why he even got a D for you. I can't. I see. Never mind. I can't.
When I was going to say big old fat,
my brain just went back to what you said. Exactly.
Yeah.
That was the delayed reaction you just got from me.
Yeah.
You can't ignore, discount, or discredit his defense, right? Like, his defense was very good this season. Not perfect. There were definitely moments where I expected better, right? But again, going back to when he played with Jalen, that backcourt duo was pretty nasty, defensively speaking. And so there's 2 sides of the ball in basketball. You can't ignore the defense, but you also can't ignore the offense. And offensively, he just didn't give you, number one, what you expect him to based on his career, but number 2, what you're paying him, right? Like the contract factors into this for me. The expectations based on his past factors into this for me. So does the defense, so does the leadership. But all those things combined, it's definitely a D. I just got to figure out which shade of a D grade do I want to give him. I think I'm going to go with just to be a little bit different. I'm going to go D plus, because we've heard a lot of guys talk about KCP being a very good influence in the locker room. Someone who the young guys look up to. They value his voice. And so I'll give him just a little bit of a bump for that and for his defense. But offensively, it just wasn't anywhere close to what we expected or needed from him. So I'm going to go D plus.
This year, his shooting from behind the arc was the worst that it's been in 9 years.
Yep.
And him coming off of like a 4-year stretch of 41%, 39%, 42%, 40%, for him to not even get to league average is just a massive disappointment. The only thing saving him was his defense, which I don't want to say he's given too much credit on that end, because that's not fair. He was very good on that end. He was not brought here to like guard the other team's best perimeter player every night. That's Jalen Suggs. But listen, even when Jalen went out, KCP on a regular basis was not always guarding the other team's best perimeter player. A lot of times Franz was given those responsibilities. So it's like the defense, like you literally gave us what we expected on that end. You didn't like step up when Jalen went out and like we're shutting guys down and playing like really well on that end. Like you were playing really well, but you were playing to the level that we expected and what we thought we were getting for the contract. The shooting was just so bad, and I know it's kind of hard to like single out one guy because the entire team was so bad. But like if we went into the year saying like, hey, if everybody's going to shoot bad except one guy, who's going to be the one guy to shoot it well? We all would have said Kentavious Caldwell-Pope,
right? And
for him to not even be like, I don't think he was like top 4 or 5 in 3-point percentage on this team this year. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and take a quick look at that and kind of stall as I'm going through this year.
While you're looking at that, let me just add
6th in 3-point percentage.
Yeah, his final numbers for the year, 34%. Obviously, it's not great, but it's not abysmal. But the problem is, it was very much similarly to some other guys we talked about, a tale of two halves. Because pre-All-Star break, he shot 30% from 3. Post All-Star break, it's 44% from 3. That's what a turnaround. 14 percentage points better in the last 24 games of the season for him. So obviously, you're never going to expect a guy to shoot 44% all season long, but if he could have been a little more somewhere in the middle for that,
I tell you what, homeboy owes us a few percentage points next year. So if we can get it up to 44, I think everybody all would be forgiven at that point if this dude is shooting 44% from the arc next year.
That'd be insane. But yeah, I mean, if he's again with us next year, I feel like he should bounce back to more of his normal shooting percentages that we've seen from the last few years, but I don't know. I thought he was going to bounce back all season, and technically I guess he did. It just didn't come until the last 24, really the last third of the season is when it came back. So I don't know. But then I don't want to act like it was all the way back because the playoffs were awful. Whatever momentum we thought he had maybe towards the end of the season just disappeared in the playoffs. Like you mentioned earlier, 26% from 3, 5 points a game in 5 games in the playoffs. Just terrible.
Yeah, I could be. I don't know that. I can't get to an F because he was, very good defensively, but like you could talk me into a D- just from what we expected to what we got. Like that's a dude that just needs to be so much better next year. And as we talk about like, is he potentially a guy that could be in trade talks? That would be such a bold and uncharacteristic move from Jeff Weltman to go out, sign a guy like that, and then basically like a year later to like reverse course and include him in a trade. But that would be like, okay, we mean business now. Like we're not worried about anything but winning at this point, right? Like you could say like this is the first really, I don't want to say high profile, but like higher profile free agent that you've gotten in a number of years. And then 1 year after he decides to leave a team that he just won a title on the year prior to then go say, hey man, it's not working out. See ya. We're bringing somebody else in. Yeah. It would be a pretty surprising move, I think, if they were to move on from him this offseason. But I think it would raise some eyebrows if nothing else.
For sure.
Okay, next up, Gary Harris. 48 games, started 3, played 14.8 minutes per game, 3 points per game, 1.3 rebounds, 0.6 assists, a half steal, 0.3 blocks. Shot 42% from the floor, 38% from the floor, at 35.6% from behind the arc. Kevin, what do you think of Gary Harris this season?
If you would have asked me before we started looking, for these grades and stuff, if you would have asked me, Kevin, what do you think Gary shot from 3 for the season? I would have just, my brain would have just collected all the tweets I saw and all the times I muttered under my breath when he would miss a three. And I would have said, what, like 19% from three? 35% from three. That's, about league average these days, which surprised me. That's a lot better than I expected. When we were looking at this. The thing with Gary is this year, I should back up. In previous years, one of the calling cards I think for him was his defense as well. Like he was going to be a knockdown spot up shooter, and a strong, capable defender, right? Not elite necessarily, but very good. And this year, the drop off was just very real on both ends. I thought like we had a lot of over Gary games this year. I mean, think back to our friend Luke Sylvia and his Twitter break. If you weren't around for that, he said, "I'm not tweeting again until Gary Harris makes," what was it? 3 threes, I think it was in a game.
2 threes. And
he was out for a whole month from Twitter, And so that kind of stuff isn't good. But that's what I was going to say. Defensively as well, I think he regressed in that area as well. Now, part of it is maybe because he hit 30. He's 30 years old, just like all of us who get 30 and beyond, things start to change, and maybe he's regressing as a player. I don't know. But outside of that, Gary just didn't give you anything. And for that reason, based on my expectations for him this season, I'm going to go a D- for Gary.
D-. So again, when you look at the percentages, like 35%, like, okay. So yeah, is that down for Gary, from the year prior when he shot, I want to say he was 37, 38% from three last year. Yeah, 37.1. My problem with Gary Harris lies here. 3-point makes on the season, 36, Kevin. Yeah. They play 82 games. This dude was not even making a three. Well, one, he wasn't available for a lot of the games, only playing in, 48 of the regular season games. But 30, so this dude was not even making a three per game in the games that he played. And of the 36 threes, Kev, 10 of them came on the first game of the season and the last game of the season. If you get rid of those 2 games, this dude made 26 threes on the year.
Wow.
That is absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
Like, he had more games where he didn't make a single three than games where he actually did make a three.
Right.
And for a guy who was averaging, let's see, how many threes per game? 2.1. 2.1 a game. You need to get that volume up a little bit, Gary. And just need to be better. Like, people were calling Gary Harris PTO this year was the nickname that Gary Harris was given, just because of the last couple of years, just his lack of availability. Like, since joining the Magic, has played 61 games, 48 games, 54 games, and 48 games.
Wow.
Just when we talk about guys that, as we've had the conversation of, do we need to improve in, shooting, or do we need to improve in rebounding or rim protection or whatever? One of the things that this team needs to have an improvement on is just availability. And when you talk about like guys that you may need to move on from because of their lack of availability, to me, Gary Harris is one of the first guys that comes to mind, because even when he is available, he's giving you 15 minutes and he's giving you 3 points.
Right.
So I'm at a D-. If you want to move into lower grades than that, I mean, I don't know that I would agree, but I wouldn't say you're absolutely crazy either.
So, Jonathan, 17 guys played minutes for the Magic this season, and that includes Matt McClung, who played a total of 10 minutes. So let's just say the other guys. 16 guys played for the Magic this year. Where do you think Gary's 36 made threes lands of the 16 guys? How many, like, what position do you think he is?
16 guys. Let's see.
Total made threes for the season at 36. No cheating.
I'm going to throw a number out and say 12.
Very close. 13.
Oh my gosh, it's even worse.
The only players that made fewer threes than him were Mo Wagner, who played in 30 games, so 18 fewer games. Trevelyan Queen, who played in 31 games. And, of course, Goga, who played in 70 games but had 3 threes. So, yeah, 36 threes on the season for a guy that played 48 games, total of 711 minutes. 36 threes for a guy that's supposed to just be a spot-up shooter. You're not asking for anything else from him offensively. Nothing. And so to only get that, yeah, it's just abysmal. It's not good enough. And it's obviously there were a lot of factors that made the team what it was this year. But when it comes to guys on the court, like he added the least for the minutes that he got this year. To me, he added the least to the team. And that's
out
just
of
not
everyone.
Good. Out of everyone. And again, he didn't play a lot, played 48 games. But when he was out there, I thought Gary is adding nothing more often than anybody else. That's where I am. So it stinks. I like Gary. I think he's a pretty chill guy. And everyone that we know that knows Gary, loves Gary, is a great guy. So when we give these grades, it has nothing to do with the person themselves. Like we probably should have said that at the top. All great guys, but when you have to look at it from a basketball perspective, I thought Gary just didn't get it done this year.
Yeah. Okay, let's move into the final. Trevelyan Queen, pulling up his stats here now. So Trevelyan Queen appeared in 31 games, started 13.9 minutes, 4.9 points, 1.7 rebound, 1.2 assists, a steal, shot 38% from the floor, 28.6% from behind the arc. Trevelyan gave me exactly what I expected that we would get out of Trevelyan, that he played more than I thought he would. But like a guy who is very much a two-way, it was giving you what you expected. So I just gave Trevelyan a C. Anything else, I feel like your expectations were either too high or too low.
Look, he a primarily G League player, two-way guy. I should say, for his career, primarily a G League player, two-way guy this year. That dude had some really special moments this year. Like more so than your average two-way player. And was given more opportunity than your average two-way player, right? I think he exceeded my expectations. Like I'm going like B minus, right?
Yeah.
Like listen, when a guy,
I thought he gave us enough last year that we knew that he could at least be playable in a pinch.
Okay,
and
well,
that's what he proved this year.
Let me explain my position. All right. Because I don't like the couple magical moments he had the year before. I don't know. Were those flukes? I don't know. Going into this season, like I had zero. I didn't think Trevelyan was going to play, right? But once again, we're forced to see him play because of injuries for at least part of the season. And he went out there. He had some of the best defensive performances of the season. Remember him shutting down freaking Tyler Hero? Like, that's a G League player shutting down an all-star caliber player, as much as it pains me to say that out loud. Like, he had moments. Now, don't get me wrong. There were also plenty of games this year where he's like, oh, yeah, he's a two-way player, right? You saw that. But he also was given a lot of opportunities, and he wasn't a negative player as often as he was a positive player, I thought. And to me, that's surprising. You don't expect that from a two-way player. At least I don't. I have very low expectations for any of the two-way guys. And so for that reason, I'm going to go a B minus for TQ, Trevelyan Queen.
All right, I will raise mine to a C plus. You've convinced me. But again, like I knew that we had, like previous two-way guys. If we think of like Kevon and we think about Admiral Schofield, like to me, I think Trevelyan's better than both of those guys.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Like going into this season, I was like, okay, well, if you have to rely on him, he can at least be passable, in a pinch, and is capable of making big plays, and he delivered on that. So right around where I expected. Last but not least, we're really not going to talk about Ethan Thompson. Just didn't dress at all. So I don't feel the need to go into that. But Mac McClung appeared in 2 games, 5 minutes per game, 0 points per game, half rebound, an assist and a half. If we want to talk about giving a guy an incomplete, here's your incomplete for Mac McClung. But in the short minutes that he played, really what I expected. Love Mac McClung. We talk about like none of the grades that we're giving these guys are like personal. If we were going also off of like personality, Mac McClung would get an A. Just like one of the coolest, most down to earth dudes. Like if you can imagine like just one of your buddies happening to be in the NBA, like just as normal of a normal dude as there is, that's Mac McClung. That being said, like I am not convinced that he's an NBA player. Like I like him a lot. I think he's, got potential. Obviously, he's played very well in the G League. But I at this point, I'm not convinced that he's like a rotation level NBA player, and just got what I expected out of Mac McClung. I just gave him a solid C.
I think people can complain all they want about the front office for various reasons, right? When we were having issues at the guard position this season, injuries and performance and all those things, and some people on the internet were screaming to have Mac McClung see the floor. You just have to trust, like if the front office thought or had any level of confidence that Mac McClung could deliver us from the guard woes that we had this season, you don't think they would have at least put him out there to try, right? So the fact that they didn't even do that, right? He, again, played 10 total minutes on the season. It was all garbage time. The fact they didn't even try says a lot to me, right? Like, yeah, I agree. I think Mac McClung is probably just not an NBA player. I don't know that he ever really will be, which hurts to say. I don't like saying that about other people, but, if history's any indicator, that's how it's been for his career. And so, I trust the front office to that end. Like, they could see the ship was burning at the guard spot, and if they thought he had any chance of fixing it, they would have played him, and they didn't. And so, but when it comes to a grade, yeah, pretty much what I expected. Didn't expect to see him a lot. Would have loved to see him and see what he could do, but yeah, I'll just stick with you. I'll go with a C. Although I will say, G League grade, Matt McClung was outrageous this season.
Baller
for Osceola. He was great. And you know what? We owe Matt McClung a little something because he balled out once again at the slam dunk contest. I know it's not on the court for the Magic, but for that reason, I'm going to give him a C+. He gets the plus for the dunk contest. All right, so I'm going to give him a C+.
I don't hate that. You know what I do hate? It looks like the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to the NBA Finals because they're almost
I've been keeping an eye on it.
On Minnesota in the first half. Like,
very bad.
What an absolute, like, I know people have talked about how crazy some of these, playoffs have been, and some of the series have risen to the occasion, but we're just getting too many games like this where teams are like, I don't remember an NBA postseason with more just no contest blowouts like we've seen in some of these playoffs here. Like, you're down 3-1 and you have a 9-point first quarter out of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Yikes. For a team that employs Anthony Edwards. Like,
that's some Orlando Magic numbers right there.
Dude, that makes the Orlando Magic look like the 2017 Warriors. That's awful, dude.
Yeah. At the biggest stage too. Which you hate to see.
I wonder if Anthony Edwards will start to get the level of criticism of Paolo Banchero at some point. Because if Paolo Banchero was a complete no-show in 2 straight playoff games like this, the narrative around the internet would not be kind to our boy.
Right.
We're just asking for fair treatment there.
But I know what that means. Assuming the Thunder don't blow this lead in a historical collapse, that means you're going to be joining me as a Pacers fan potentially if they can finish the job.
No. You want to talk about a no contest? I'm rooting for both teams to lose.
Oh, come on. You would rather the Pacers win. I know it. I know you would.
Slightly, bro.
Exactly.
Like, very slightly.
Exactly. They got to finish the job first.
Hey.
Okay, how about this? If New York makes it, you're all in. Like, let's go Knicks.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. Either way, I'm rooting for the East, by the way.
I don't see that happening either now.
Yeah. Oh, I don't either. Yeah.
So, in my mind, like, I'm giving the title to the Thunder right now.
Gotta slow your roll. Don't count out.
Just saying.
Count out my sirs, okay?
Dude, stop. Whoever is in charge of that needs to stop.
They just started this year. It's terrible. It's awful.
Not good. But, not good at all.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in the East, but it looks like the West is all but wrapped up, and it's not even halftime yet. It's sad.
Well, our next episode likely going to be Thursday.
Nope. It's going to be Monday. We're going to go over. We're going to. Today's Thursday.
Oh, you're right.
So Monday we're going to do. We're going to grade the coaching staff, the front office, maybe some other things we might throw in there for fun. That will be Monday's episode. Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess. Go Sirs. Very slightly, dude. It's like. Never mind. I was going to make a joke that would not have gone over well. So we're just going to keep that to ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it. You got anything else for this one?
I don't think so, man. That was a journey. I'm glad we got to go on it together.
Yeah, definitely. All right, that's going to do it for this one. For Kevin Tucker, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to The Sixth Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to The Sixth Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sixth Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!